Steve Keim still doesn't get it.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free and available on all platforms and on YouTube. I am your host, Alex Clancy, once again, at Clancy's Corner, at Locked On AZ Cards. Please go like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Everydayers, thanks for hanging out. It's onward and upward from here. Steve Keim's run his damn mouth at the worst times always. And I thought I was going to talk about camp today. I thought there were some exciting things as we get closer. We're about a week away. But Steve Keim goes on Colin Cowherd and runs his mouth about the Kyler Murray contract and the comments about Kyler Murray's comments regarding him changing his ways. And I just want to take two segments and remind people how out of bounds Steve Keim is for doing this. And then in the third segment, yes, I will say, well, what does Kyler Murray need to do in an effort to prove Steve Keim wrong even more? But I need about 12 minutes here just to go scorched earth on Steve Keim. I've been quiet. I've wished him well with his health, and I still do, obviously, because he left the team because of that, interestingly. And one thing about Steve Keim, before I dive into the truth, is he's a great interviewer. He's a dude's dude with interviews. He's a guy who will light up an interview. He'll make people laugh. He'll be coy. He'll be cheeky. He'll be all of the things. He's got a good radio voice, got a good TV voice. He checks all the boxes of a sociopath. I'm not calling him a sociopath by any stretch. But when it comes to actually doing his job when he was here, he was one of the worst GMs in football for the better part of a decade. He was around for a decade as GM. And save a couple great moves, and I will talk about those too. He is a main reason, if not the 1A reason, to the owner of the organization as to why the Arizona Cardinals are where they are today. Steve Keim was the dysfunction. Steve Keim was a major jet fuel catalyst for the lack of cohesion, the lack of positive culture, the lack of just day-to-day functionality of an organization. Because he refused to adapt. He refused to evolve. He refused to learn from his mistakes. He just kept being the egomaniac that he is, or that he was as the GM of the Arizona Cardinals, and said, you know what? I got this, guys. Outside the box draft pick, look at my track record. The Cardinals have won 8 Super Bowls with me as GM. That's how we acted. And this is why we are where we are now. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple positives for Steve Keim before just diving in to all of the others. Trading up at the top of the second round to draft Budda Baker was his best draft pick across 10 years. He saw somebody he wanted, traded up ahead of a team. I think he traded up just in front of Seattle to draft him. Budda Baker went to University of Washington in the Pacific Northwest and got his safety for the future. Kudos. Fantastic draft pick. I don't give him credit for Kyler Murray because he was running unopposed. Traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Fleeced the Texans, even though I think it was just, that was, even though he got credit for that, that was a McNair to Bidwell move. reportedly, where Steve Keim didn't really do anything. McNair, the owner of the Texans, was like, you know what? Let's find DeAndre Hopkins a good spot. Let me call my buddy, old pal, Michael Bidwell. Yeah, give us a second-round pick in David Johnson. Sure. Do you want a fourth-round pick back with DeAndre Hopkins? Like, is that okay? Is that okay with you? But you still give Steve Keim credit because he was GM. What else? Trading back for Marcus Golden for a sixth-round pick. Good move. Marcus Golden had a career resurrection, at least momentarily, over a chunk of games. Trading for Chandler Jones. Sure. Notice how 10 years of draft picks, I mentioned one. Tyrann Mathieu, sure. He dipped because of the win. It's so funny talking about marijuana possession in 2023, where it's just like this egregious, should he go to jail thing. He dropped a handful of rounds and fell into the Cardinals' lap. But I also take away that because he then paid Tyrann Mathieu a lot of money and then asked for it back. It's like, oh, shoot. We can't afford giving you all this. Will you restructure, buddy? Tyrann Mathieu rightly said, hell no. So it's kind of a, that kind of cancels itself out. So when Steve Keim, and I'm going to dive into what he said in the next segment, I just wanted to do like a nice little reset. Just reminding people who Steve Keim is. A couple good peaks, a lot of deep valleys. A couple cool peaks, a lot of deep valleys. Steve Keim hired Steve Wilks and fired Steve Wilks after 1 year. Given the worst offense, the Arizona Cardinals averaged less points per game in 2018 than the 2008 Detroit Lions did when they went 0-16. Hiring Cliff Kingsbury, maybe the most offensive act as general manager was hiring a head coach from college who had never won anything. That's the Steve Keim we know. That's the Stevie baby we know. And I will double back. I hope he's in good health. I hope everything's getting better with that, because this is not a personal attack at Steve Keim, the person. This is an attack at the avatar that was the general manager of the Arizona Cardinals and the personality traits and attributes that were tied to that were those of egomania, delusion, and dysfunction. So I'm going to go into what he said about Kyler Murray on the Colin Cowherd show, on the Herd with Colin Cowherd show. What is this? The late night? And I'm going to give a little 2-minute interlude about what Monty Ossenfort is that Steve Keim most definitely was not. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Please go subscribe the YouTube channel. Steve Keim, scorched earth. He did it. I'm just reacting to it. I'll hit that next as we roll on here. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by eBay Motors. And our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Football host Vinny Iyer to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So with draft prep underway for the upcoming season, let's see who Vinny Iyer's picked out for this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. Looking to make a smooth turn in fantasy football snake drafts with the last pick in the first round and first pick in the second round? You'll be guaranteed to have a winning 1-2 punch of workhorse power in your backfield when taking the Colts' Jonathan Taylor and Browns' Nick Chubb back-to-back. While Taylor is a perfect rebound candidate in a more run-friendly overall offense in Indy, Chubb is also set up to dominate with more of the combined workload in Cleveland. Vinny Iyer from Locked On Fantasy Football is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. With eBay Guaranteed Fit and over 122 million parts and accessories for your vehicle right at your fingertips, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Air filters, brakes, batteries, taillights, alternators, shocks, struts, you name it, eBay Motors has it. And they'll make sure it's the right fit for your car because eBay Guaranteed Fit helps you understand exactly what part you need for your vehicle the first time. So go forth, switch gears, crank the AC, and say goodbye to sweating. And if your ride needs a little fixing up, because now you know you'll always be set up for success from the get-go. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, everything your vehicle is calling for is just a click away. For the parts and accessories to fit your vehicle, just look for the green check, get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices at ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions apply. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Alex Clancy here. I didn't want to do this podcast. I was cool letting everything lay. I was good. I was happy. I was happy to move on with the new regime. But then just the delusion continues from Steve Keim, where he thinks he has all the answers. He thinks he understands everything. And a lot of the time, if not most of the time, that ain't the case. So let me read to you what he wrote or what he said on the Cowherd Show. This is talking about Kyler Murray and Kyler Murray's quote about, needing to be coachable, and then, if it gets to a certain point, you got to look yourself in the mirror, talking about himself. He's ready to be coached. Probably because Cliff Kingsbury isn't here anymore, and he actually has somebody who could probably coach him. So this is what Steve Keim said, if you missed it. Quote, I think in terms of quarterbacks, what he said, you don't love it, just because of the standpoint where he added the word but in. Generally behind a positive, the word but does not end in a positive light. I certainly didn't want to hear that, and nor do fans want to hear a guy who's making $46.1 million a year blame anybody but himself. I'm not saying he's a guy that blames people, yet at the same time, when you get that bag of cash, everybody expects you to take it on your shoulders, and that's what a franchise quarterback does. This is a big year. I would have actually had Kyler in my top 5 for guys under pressure because if they do have a tough year, he's coming off the injury. He's got to prove himself. What happens as what people forecast. And he goes on. Is Steve Keim wrong that Kyler Murray has pressure on him? No. Is Steve Keim wrong that Kyler Murray hasn't been the best leader up until this point? No. So I'm not saying what Steve Keim said was absolutely wrong or absolutely not of this earth. What I am saying is Steve Keim built this ecosystem that Kyler Murray's had to live in. Steve Keim is the reason why the Cardinals are where they are. Does Kyler Murray played well from second one all the way through? No, of course not. But the insanity to blaming Kyler Murray blatantly after just leaving that organization and being the puppet master is a joke. What Steve Keim is doing is insane. What Steve Keim is doing is completely out of touch with reality. I tweeted this out. This is what Steve Keim is acting like. Okay? This is the course of action. What Steve Keim did by coming on and roasting Kyler Murray for something he said about, being a leader, etc., after building and cultivating that ecosystem that Kyler Murray was drafted in. This is my tweet. Steve Keim taking shots at Kyler Murray is like a kid going to a friend's house, playing with his toys, leaving without helping him clean up, and then talking crap about his friend for having toys all over the place. What the hell are we doing here? What in the wide world of Stevie Baby are we doing here? Steve Keim could have drafted Tristan Wirfs in 2020. drafted Isaiah Simmons. Steve Keim could have drafted a corner, an offensive lineman, or edge rusher in 2021. Drafted Zaven Collins. Steve Keim hadn't drafted an offensive lineman in the first round since 2015 with DJ Humphries. Steve Keim was the worst statistical drafting GM since he took over as GM in 2013. Steve Keim has no clout when it comes to running an organization, talking about Kyler Murray, or talking about what Kyler Murray should be doing. Steve Keim probably saw Kyler Murray as the guy that got him fired. No, hiring Cliff Kingsbury got you fired. A lifetime of ineptitude got you fired. You should have been fired. He should have been fired in 2018 with Steve Wilkes. The fact that he stayed on and that it got a contract extension a year later is asinine. Sure, Michael Bidwell, absolutely. But Steve Keim running his mouth about anything Kyler Murray when having 4 years to make him better is a joke. And he should be laughed off every stage he's on when talking about anything like this for the future. He should have a gag order talking about the Cardinals because you know what? He had his opportunity to make them better, and he failed time and time again. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. What is Kyler Murray? What does he have to do to rectify people talking about him like this? I'll hit that next, as well as Monty Ossenfort's already a breath of fresh air. So there's that. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. I'm sorry, that felt good. I've been wanting a reason to do that. I'm sorry it's not a positive podcast today. Sometimes we just need to talk about the truth. And I know it's my opinion, but Steve Keim saying anything about the Cardinals is just a laughable, out of touch with reality, dysfunctional thought process when he had complete control over the Arizona Cardinals ecosystem for a decade. Monty Ossenfort is a breath of fresh air. Is it because he's not Steve Keim? No, that's not at all what I mean. Did he take control over the draft room, and make the perfect moves for the Arizona Cardinals in his first draft? Yes. Did Steve Keim ever do that? No. Was Steve Keim's draft picks self-serving because he thought he was the smartest person in the room? Yes. Did Monty Ossenfort make the Cardinals better by picking up future high draft capital and still getting an offensive lineman for Kyler Murray protection? Yes. Monty Ossenfort has had one draft. And he's drafted just one less offensive lineman in the first round than Steve Keim did with Jonathan Cooper and DJ Humphries. He knows this team goes as Kyler Murray goes. Steve Keim wanted to draft inside linebackers or draft players from a different position on defense and move them off ball because he was the smartest person in the room. How'd that work out? Still the GM of the Cardinals? Right. With Kyler Murray, though, he's not without blame. He's not without criticism. He's not without critique. He's not without growing to do. I've said this since Cliff Kingsbury, should have been fired after they started 10-2, and then they went to the playoffs, so we got him another year, got him a contract extension. We're not going to find out who Kyler Murray is until Cliff Kingsbury is no longer with the organization. So this may seem convenient with what I'm about to say as it pertains to my narrative and thought process throughout this. Cliff Kingsbury has held Kyler Murray back. Kyler Murray wins in spite of Cliff Kingsbury. And now, when you have a new head coach, it's going to be like a cabinet, as I mentioned, every day, you know what I talk about, Jonathan Gannon and all of the first-time coaches in their respective positions, namely the offensive and defensive coordinators. Jeff Rodgers is an old hat in the room, which will help experience-wise. It's going to be a cabinet. John Gannon's going to be the lead, but it's going to be kind of a group coaching situation. We're going to find out who Kyler Murray is this year. Even if he comes back in week 8, we're going to find out. Kyler Murray's never had to put in that extra Kobe Bryant, no doubt about it, effort. He's just always been better than everybody else. And of course he works hard. He busts his ass in the offseason, even though some reports say he doesn't work out from a nice local somebody here. That's just not true. I've had his trainer and longtime, very close friend, Stephen Bach, on multiple times. Kyler Murray works hard. There's that extra level that is unlocked in elite players where you have elite talent and elite work ethic. That's the level that Kyler Murray can reach. We saw it 2 seasons ago. And remember, everybody, the Cardinals were down 3 scores to the Raiders. And Kyler Murray put that team on his back, came back and got a W with a scoop and score in overtime. Kyler Murray is special. Does he have work to do? Of course. Was he coached by somebody who should be an NFL head coach? No. Was he coached, or was there a GM who should still have a job after drafting him or before drafting him? No. Kyler Murray was bred in dysfunctionality. So this is the year where we're going to find out, even if it's in a bridge year, because of injury. What does he have to do? We're not going to see the hard work. We're not going to see the leadership in the locker room. We're not going to see that stuff. What we're going to see, if he's progressing as a leader, as a man, as, the quarterback of an NFL franchise making a lot of money, it's going to be a no doubt about it. Oh, this is different kind of thing. It's going to be the relationship with the head coach. Somebody he actually respects. I don't think he respects Cliff Kingsbury. I think it's pretty obvious. Yelling, "Shut the F up" to a head coach in the middle of a game. I think that was just boiling over. What we're looking for from Kyler Murray this year is composure. Is leadership that's not being super demonstrative on the sidelines, which is fine. I have no problem quarterback yelling at his, wide receivers or something. Happens all the time. People get heated in the middle of a game. What we're looking to see from Kyler Murray is it. If you're trying to look like measurables of what Kyler Murray is going to look like if he takes a step forward this year when it's not the actual play itself, it's going to be a fool's errand. It's red herring. You're going to be searching for Kaiser Sose. What you're going to be looking for is it. We're either going to see it or we won't. And it's not definable right now because we don't know what version of Kyler Murray it's going to be. And I'm speaking in the abstract because this is important. Well, if Kyler Murray is 4,000 passing yards, then he made it. No. If Kyler Murray is, seen joking with his teammates, no. All of that is fluff. All of that is fugazi. All of that it doesn't matter. The growth that we're going to see from Kyler Murray, if he takes that next big step, is undefinable right now because we don't know what it looks like because we've never seen it. We've seen MVP caliber play. We've seen him play not so great. Overall, we've seen a fractured foundation of an organization that's a perennial loser. That's what we've seen. And losing organizations always find ways to lose. If this culture shift is really going to happen, if the foundation is going to be strengthened, if the infrastructure is going to be rebuilt, I use those 3 they're cliches now because I use them all the time, but it's important to paint the picture. We're going to see it. The problem is we don't know what it looks like yet. But when we see it, we'll know without question that things are different, not only with Kyler Murray, but for the team as a whole. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I will talk to you tomorrow.